Hey there, today I'm going to be showing you 5 new dinner ideas that only cost about $5 each. I know grocery prices have been extremely high recently, so whether you're on a budget or just trying to save a little bit of money at this time, I hope you could find this helpful, and let's go get to cooking. We're beginning today with this fajita pasta, and while I'm at the grocery store, I am going to show you the products that I picked up to stay right around $5. First, I grabbed this box of bow tie pasta for under $1. Then I headed over to the produce section and I grabbed a green bell pepper. Green bell peppers are very high in vitamin C. Then I grabbed an onion, and I noticed that these white onions are 88 cents a pound, whereas the yellow onions today are 98 cents a pound. Typically, I could buy a yellow onion for less expensive than a white onion, but today the yellow onions are more expensive, so always keep an eye on the price per pound when buying things. Then I grabbed a container of heavy whipping cream, and then I headed over to the tomato section and I grabbed a can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. This is kind of like Rotel. Now let's head back to my house and let's get to cooking. To this pot of boiling water on the stove, I'm going to add in this entire box of bow tie pasta. I cooked it according to the box instructions, and while that was cooking away, to this large pot I added in a tablespoon of olive oil. Once my oil was hot, I added in my sliced green bell pepper and my sliced onion. I gave this a stir and I let these peppers and onions cook together for about 6 to 7 minutes, or until they started to get soft. Now that our pasta is cooked, before we strain it, we are going to be removing and reserving 1 cup of the water that the pasta is cooking in. And the reason why we are doing this is because it's going to help make the sauce, and it's going to make it really silky and creamy. But now that our peppers and onions are tender, we're going to be adding our seasonings in. So toss in a teaspoon of onion and garlic powder, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of salt, and then just a half a teaspoon of pepper. Now I'm going to add in our 1 cup of heavy cream. We're of course not using the entire box of heavy cream that we got from the store, just the 1 cup. Then I added in our reserved pasta water. I gave this a stir and I brought this up to a simmer. Once simmering, I added in our can of diced tomatoes with green chilies. I did strain our can before adding it in, and then I gave this a stir. I let this simmer, stirring it occasionally on my stove for about 3 to 4 minutes to thicken up the sauce. Then I added in our pasta and I gave this a stir. Once the pasta was coated in the sauce, I served this up. Here's what dinner looks like. I topped mine with fresh cilantro, but you could top yours with anything that you love. For example, like guacamole, cheese, sliced tomatoes, anything. But we love this meal so much because it is full of flavor and it does not taste like you're trying to be on a budget at all. Now we're making this turkey and rice goulash, so the first thing that we're going to be grabbing at the grocery store is 1 pound of ground turkey. As you see, this festive brand of ground turkey is only $2.54, whereas the Genio brand of ground turkey is $3.17 in the refrigerated section. So look in the freezer section for the ground turkey. It is a little bit less expensive. Now I'm going to be grabbing a bag of rice. Rice is super filling, and as you see, I could grab this 1 pound bag of rice for under $1 and it will make multiple meals. Then I grabbed a can of diced tomatoes. This diced tomatoes has garlic and olive oil in it, so it has extra flavor. Now I'm grabbing 1 can of mixed vegetables. Let's head back to the house and get started. The first thing we're making for this recipe is our rice, and I'm making it in my Instant Pot. You're only going to need about 1.5 cups of rice for this recipe. You don't need the entire bag. As you see, there's extra rice here for different recipes. Then I added in about 2 cups of water and a tablespoon of olive oil. I gave this a stir and I pressed the rice button. If you don't want to cook your rice in an Instant Pot or you don't have one, you could cook it in a rice cooker or just simply over the stove. But while our rice is cooking away, I am going to start on our ground turkey. So to the pan on my stove, I'm going to add our turkey down and I'm going to break it up and cook the turkey through at this point. Once our turkey was cooked through, I added in our seasonings, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, a half a teaspoon of pepper, a teaspoon of onion and garlic powder, and then a teaspoon of salt. And I do want to let you know, if you're on a budget, seasonings are pretty low cost and they will last quite a while. And if you add a bunch of seasonings to your food, it will really amp up your food, so just keep that in mind. Then I added in our drained can of mixed vegetables along with our can of diced tomatoes. I gave this a stir and I let this simmer with the lid on for about 5 to 7 minutes. Now I'm going to add our cooked rice right in there, give this a really good stir to combine the ingredients, and then it is time to serve it up. This dinner is so unbelievably good, especially for the cost. It is full of immense flavor. This is another one of those meals that does make for great leftovers for the next day. So you can meal prep this one for the week, and it is so tasty. Now we're making this French bread pizza. The first thing that we're needing for this recipe is a loaf of French bread. So I grabbed this one and I can't believe it's $1.47. I remember when it was just $1 at my grocery store for years and years. Then I grabbed a can of tomato sauce for 44 cents. This is my little pizza sauce trick that I'm going to show you here in a moment. Then I grabbed our cheese and our pepperoni. I only used about half of this bag of pepperoni for our pizzas. Now let's get this recipe started. The first thing I'm going to do is slice our French bread in half just like this. Now we're going to be making our butter mixture. So I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter. I added in a dash of garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning. I'm going to brush this butter mixture all over the French bread on the inside just like this. This is going to give this pizza so much great flavor. After I was through with that, I baked this in a preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 5 minutes. While it was baking in the oven, I'm going to start on our pizza sauce now. So I have our tomato sauce right here. I added it into this bowl. Then I added in a dash of pepper, a teaspoon of salt, and about 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. This is my little hack for inexpensive pizza sauce, and it really is super duper good. I definitely recommend you trying it out. After the bread was out of the oven, I poured the pizza sauce on the inside of the bread, kind of like how you would with a normal pizza. And then after I was finished with that, I sprinkled our mozzarella cheese over the top. And then after I added our cheese, I added our pepperonis. And I do want to let you know, of course, you could customize these pizzas however you want to eat them. You could add sausage or veggies, really anything you like. This baked in my oven for 5 to 7 more minutes or until the cheese was nice and melty. This is such a fun twist on regular pizza night, and that garlicky butter sauce that we brushed on the bread before we baked it gives this so much added flavor. I definitely recommend you doing that. These are just really good. I love potato soup, especially at this time of year, so now that's what we're making. The first thing I'm going to be grabbing is a bag of hash browns. This is the Southern O'Brien style hash brown, so it has the added onions and the peppers in it. This is going to give our soup some extra flavor. Let's head over to the gravy aisle now and grab a packet of country gravy. And a lot of times we think the store brand is going to be cheaper than the name brand, but do pay attention to the price per ounce because the Walmart brand was 49 cents per ounce versus this brand was only 40 cents per ounce, so that was cheaper. Now I'm going to be grabbing this little box of Knorr bouillon and let's head back to the house and get cooking. So the first thing I'm doing is to this large pot adding our bag of hash browns right in there. Then I'm going to be adding our packet of country gravy, add that entire packet right in there. Then I'm going to be adding our bouillon. You're only going to be using 2 of these bouillon cubes, not the entire box. Next, add in 4 cups of water and bring this up to a boil. Once it does start boiling, bring this down to a simmer and let it simmer for about 15 minutes, stirring it frequently until it gets to the thickness that you like your potato soup to be. Once it got to this thickness, I served it up, and I topped our bowls of soup just with some toppings that I already had on hand, like shredded cheese, sour cream, cooked crumbled bacon, and sliced green onions. But you could serve yours with whatever you have on hand, or if you don't have any toppings on hand, this potato soup is good just by itself. Now we're making this vegetable pasta soup, so let's first head down the bean aisle and get our cans of beans. So we're first grabbing a can of cannellini beans. These are kind of like white beans. We're also going to be grabbing a can of green beans. As you see, they were on sale. Green beans tend to go on sale at this time of year. And then I grabbed a can of diced tomatoes, followed by a box of ziti pasta. I didn't use the entire box of ziti pasta. I only used about 2 cups of it. Now let's get started. To this pot, I added in 5 cups of water along with 1 cube of bouillon. This is just the bouillon packet that I used for the potato soup recipe. Then I added in a can of diced tomatoes along with our can of cannellini beans. I did drain those beans. I also added in our green beans that I drained. Then I added in our 2 cups of ziti pasta. Next, you're going to add in your seasonings, a half a teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon of rosemary, then about 2 teaspoons of salt. You're going to give this a stir, and you're going to let this simmer for about 10 to 12 minutes, stirring it often until your pasta is nice and tender. My house was smelling so good at this point. I served our soup up, and we like to eat ours topped with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. This soup is extremely nutrient rich. It has so many different vitamins in it, and it's really easy to throw together and so budget friendly. My little toddler especially loves this soup. I have plenty more grocery budget videos like this on my channel, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any more in the future. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.